Welcome everyone. Welcome to Aman's Healing Code, where we simplify medical topics for students and professionals. Let's get started. Did you know the clavicle or collarbone is the only long bone in the body that lies horizontally? It plays a crucial role in shoulder movement and stability. In this video, I'll explain its anatomy and clinical importance in a simple way. Clavicle is a long bone. It supports the shoulder so that arm can swing clearly away from the trunk. The clavicle transmits the weight of the limb to the sternum. The bone has a curved part called the shaft and two ends, lateral and medial. The side to which clavicle belongs can be determined from the following characters. The lateral end is flat and the medial end is large and quadrilateral. The shaft is slightly curved so that it is convex forwards in its medial 2/3 and concave forward in its lateral 1/3. The inferior surface is grooved longitudinally in its medial 1/3. The peculiarities of the clavicle: it is the only long bone that lies horizontally. It is subcutaneous throughout. It is the first bone to start ossifying. It is the only bone which ossifies in membrane. It is the only long bone which has two primary centers of ossification. There is no medullary cavity. It is occasionally pierced by middle supraclavicular nerve. This shaft is divisible into lateral 1/3 and medial 2/3. The lateral 1/3 of the shaft is flattened from above downwards. It has two borders, anterior and posterior. The anterior border is convex forwards. The posterior is convex backwards. This part of the bone has two surfaces, superior and inferior. The superior surface is subcutaneous and inferior surface presents an elevation called the conoid tubercle, as you can see, and the ridge called the trapezoid ridge. The medial 2/3 of the shaft is rounded. It is said to have four surfaces. The anterior surface is convex forwards. The posterior surface is smooth. The superior surface is rough in its medial part, and the inferior surface has a rough oval impression at the medial end. The lateral half of this surface has a longitudinal subclavian groove. The nutrient foramen lies at the lateral end of the groove. The lateral or acromial end is flattened from above downward. It bears a facet that articulates with the acromion process of the scapula to form the acromioclavicular joint. The medial or sternal end is quadrangular and articulates with the clavicular notch of the manubrium sterni to form the sternoclavicular joint. The articular surface extends to the inferior aspect for articulation with the first costal cartilage. At the lateral end, the margin of the articular surface for its acromioclavicular joint give attachment to joint capsule. At the medial end, the margin of the articular surface for sternum give attachment to fibrous capsule, articular disc, and interclavicular ligament. Lateral 1/3 of the shaft. The anterior border gives origin to the deltoid muscle. The posterior border provides insertion to the trapezius muscle. Medial 2/3 of the shaft. Most of the anterior surface gives origin to the pectoralis major muscle. Half of the rough superior surface gives origin to the clavicular head of the sternocleidomastoid. The subclavian group here gives insertion to the subclavius muscle. The posterior surface close to the medial head gives origin to the sternohyoid muscle. Clavicle is commonly fractured by falling on the outstretched hand. The most common site is the junction between the two curvature of the bone, which is the weakest point. Now that you know why the clavicle is so important, tell me, have you or someone you know have ever had a collarbone fracture? Comment below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more medical content. See you in the next video.